podcast is available on Spotify. Just search From the Pavilion End. We are also available on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and on YouTube Podcast. Please show your love by subscribing and following the podcast. And please like the episode and share it with your friends.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Pavilion Pantoteke from the Pavilion End. We have taken a break from our after we finished the India versus England series, and this is the start of our season 2 for the from the Pavilion End. I hope you have liked our season 1 offerings. In season 2, we are going to cover the entire test season of India, which will be running from September on to January, where they'll play 10 tests. We'll also talk about various other things that happens in the cricketing world, and we'll talk about special statistical comparisons, statistical records in this show. So in this first episode of From the Pavilion End, we have along with us Omoto from Calcutta and Aniruddha, who has joined us from the US. Hi, both of you. Welcome to
Hello.
Let's start at a very auspicious point, which is that this is the first show that we are doing since India won the World T20 in West Indies. It's been a world title that has been coming on a long time. We have been to semi-finals, we have been to finals, and there have been heartbreaks a lot. Nobody really gave us any kind of let's say a chance in this World Cup, especially given that it was happening in the Caribbean, and we know how the Caribbean team is in T20. Of course, there was the defending champion England, then the one day reigning champion Australia, and then of course Pakistan, Sri Lanka. These teams have players who play a lot in the CPL. And no one can ever write off South Africa, but I think South Africa was also coming a little under the radar in this tournament, given that there was no very known faces in the batting order or outside of Rabada in the bowling balls. And then we had a fairy tale run. We beat Pakistan in the group stages. We beat Australia, and also we beat Bangladesh, and we beat England in the semi-finals. That was great. And then finally, our surprise semi-finalist was South Africa, and South Africa at one point had almost won it. I would say even more than won it. It was almost done and dusted, and then suddenly something happened which just reversed the luck quotient that India has been having in terms of these world tournaments. World Cup win was a cathartic win for many Indians. This was probably an unexpected win. The win was supposed to come last November, but how do you see this win in terms of India's global wins?
Oh, this is definitely a big win. But in terms of tournament that India have won, I think this win comes around in the third position, according to me. For me, 1983 World Cup win was always special because India was basically a minnow playing in England, beating West Indies. All the odds were against that Indian team, but they still managed to win the tournament. And for me, for the second place, I will definitely choose 2011. The ODI World Cup that India won, because winning any ODI World Cup is much bigger than winning a T20 World Cup for me. And of course, this will come at par with our 2007 World Cup win. Why? Because Yeah, 2007 World Cup win is always very special because that is the first, T20 World Cup that India has ever won. But not only that, this win is also at par with that win because India has lost many, many tournaments, as you said, many big tournaments, either in the semi-final or in the final. So India was doing everything right, but it was not clicking at the right time. Those heartbreaks actually summed up this 2023 World Cup win, and that makes it very special.
So I think if we played that final, that position, 30 runs of 30 balls, 10 times, we would have lost that final maybe 9 times. And that is when you say that sport is not only a 100% about just perseverance and hard work, it is also a bit about luck as well. Because you don't expect at that time Jasprit Bumrah to come up and all guns are being blazed by the likes of Klassen, the likes of David Miller. And then Jasprit Bumrah comes in, he delivers one of the finest overs. The pressure is built. And then Hardik Pandya bowls a wide, absolutely a wide ball that is there, short wide ball, and then Klassen nicks it. So that is basically a repercussion of the pressure that was being built time and over, and that clicked. So on a very bad day for India, where luck would have gone down the trains, that edge of Klassen's bat would have gone on to reach the boundaries and would have added to the misery of India. But in that day, everything was in our favor. Everything was in our favor. Obviously, credits to South Africa for dragging that match so long and so deep. I think on any other occasion we would have lost that game, but that day was probably one of those days when the cricketing gods also from the heavens decided to shine on us and thought that yes, two legends of this team, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, who would have taken their last strides as T20 international cricketers, needed that salvation, needed that redemption to complete their own story arc.
But I want to talk about two teams, um, Afghanistan and West Indies. What happened to these?
Afghanistan and West Indies is like a story of a seesaw. One team rises, the other team is going down. One team against all the odds because they are Afghanistan right now are controlled by a regime that is not really something that people should be promoting. But their sports and arts, in that sense, are banned, or rather, the government doesn't support it in that way. But despite all that, a team which comes up from those difficulties, geopolitical, you know, such geopolitical strains that are there. So for a team like that, I think the ordinary people of Afghanistan needed that. Now they know that what it is like to play in the big stage with the big boys in the big stages of ICC tournaments. I think a team like Afghanistan will definitely take this as a major learning point of view. And this would be the inflection point for Afghanistan cricket. Now they will be challenging regularly for test status, requesting ICC to have series arranged with better test teams so that they can also go ahead and check how their test metal is developing over the years. And for West Indies, I have no real words for two teams actually when it comes to this T20 World Cup, West Indies and Pakistan. Like both have been so severely disappointing that it is beyond words for anyone to put that how they have gone on from the likes of Amir Sohail and Chris Gayle to be represented by such no ones. This is like catastrophic drop of standards, not only from cricketing point of view, but also how the boards are being run by both the countries.
I was a bit surprised to see West Indies didn't qualify, far long into the tournament because I personally believe West Indies, the T20 squad that they have, it's strong enough it's strong enough to compete any formidable side currently. But still, I'm very surprised to see that they could not make it. Like I don't know why. I don't know how.
I think the missed trick by not picking Sunil Narine or Sunil Narine wasn't available by any chance. I think that was a huge trick and a huge miss because that experience, even though he's just a spinner, but that experience adds a lot during trap situations, how to grind out games during those trap situations.
Coming to another two teams that I want to ask Aniruddha, the two teams which were supposed to rule the roost Australia, reigning ODI champion, England, reigning T20 champion. Each and everybody had this, this narrative going that Australia is going to thump India's ass once more, and India actually ensured that Rohit Sharma one innings ensured that people will, I mean, Mitchell Stark will get as many nightmares as Shane Warne did from 1998 in the Desert Storm. So, and not only Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins. I think Mitchell Stark only got hit with those 4, 5 sixes, but it was Pat Cummins who's considered as many runs as Mitchell Stark, even more than Mitchell Stark, and actually had only 1 or 2 dot balls. So I feel that that match was lost by Australia's premier bowler, Pat Cummins. Mitchell Stark actually came back with a few wickets, which probably, evened out the hit that he had got. So that, and then how England played in that semi-final. It was as if they had resigned the moment that that semi-final was set up in Guyana. So on Australia and England, on your team.
No, I don't think that I'm not a staunch believer of the rumor or whatever the myth going on around that Australia and England are the teams that can beat any team any day, any time. In modern cricket, I don't believe that they have done that so far because some of the days during the finals or the semi-finals, things have clicked for them. But it doesn't mean that the other teams like South Africa and India are not potent enough to beat them. So I'm not very surprised that Australia or England could not make it to the semi-final. Or sorry, I mean Australia could not make it to the semi-final because they were beaten comprehensively by India, and that's not a it's not a surprise for me. I mean, it ought to happen. I mean, it happened that day, honestly. And for England, I think England typically was a bit off color in the big matches throughout the tournament. So, it's a phase that every big team can face. Australia, England, they're a good team, they're a big team, but things have not clicked for them on those specific days.
I think like even if you look at into the trajectory as well in terms of England, I think they were not having a very impressive one-day record or a white ball record for that case, so that they can come up as hot favorites in terms of that. Of course, they were defending champions, but not every defending champion is a hot favorite going into a tournament. And this was one of the tournaments where you cannot nitpick and say that yes, these two teams would absolutely stand out, or these two teams would, would dominate every other team that was there in the house to be played against and played with. So I think England had that tag of defending champions, but they never really looked like defending champions whenever they were playing. They had a few equations going here and there about regarding qualification. Ultimately, they did qualify. But even South Africa, in that case, were looking better as a white ball outfit, especially a T20 outfit, than England coming into the tournament. Like the way they started and the way they were carrying themselves forward.
Going forward, this same format is going to be used, I think, in the next couple of tournaments. The next tournament is to be jointly hosted by India and Sri Lanka. Do you agree with this kind of a format?
My personal opinion is I'm okay with the format that we have just seen. So I think this is the best T20 World Cup that I have seen ever. I mean, I understand that there are some low scoring games, but that's fine. Cricket is not about batsmen only. I mean, that's fine if bowlers dominated this tournament. And I'm okay with the fact that the associate teams get this chance to, come to this big stage and, show their ability, perform well and do good. Like, this is fine. I don't find any problem.
Now let's come to some of the negative aspects of this tournament. Amartya, what do you say about this huge push of ICC to host matches in the US, and they aim those matches actually in US? Usually the matches are held in Texas, it's around Dallas, Houston, and those areas. But they wanted to take it to or Florida, but they wanted to take it to New York, like take it to the Big Apple, and the matches were horrible. Nobody got injured, but those pitches were absolutely ranked poor. nobody will mention those things sitting in India, because they probably would say that if those things had happened in the subcontinent, there will be no voice raised on how pathetic this kind of pitches were. What do you say about those effort of ICC to host it in?
I think for ICC, the sole purpose was to grow the game, especially in the US, because it's a very big untapped market for them to foray into. And that is what their primary objective was like. So they had USA coming in as a new team, and by the looks of it, USA were very good in their first tournament. Also, there's a huge chunk of South Asian crowd that lives uh, in these areas, especially in New York City. So that was the major crowd puller, not only in the stadiums but also in the fan parks as well, and especially with the selling of merchandise. So ICC had that in their mind that yes, even if the quality of cricket that was being played in the ground didn't work out, but the crowd pulling systems, especially with the merchandising, marketing, and the digital activity that they were doing. So in that case, they were being putting USA as one of the most top markets in terms of going and grabbing the opportunity. Apart from that, if I come back to the pitches, I think the pitches safety inspection should have been done, especially with how the outfields are. Because more than the injuries that happen during batting or bowling, I think the outfield injuries are one of the things that can absolutely ruin a player's career, especially when you're fielding in wet outfields that where your studs get stuck. So these are the things as safety measures that needed to be taken into care. Previously, also the big nations that you have here playing Test cricket, especially England and Australia, they have been very vocal in terms of rank turners or bouncy pitches that happen in Perth, or the rank turners that happen in the subcontinent, and they are very vocal about it because they feel like these are not unfair. These are unfair advantage towards the home team. However, these nations have been very quiet about it because as long as it favors you, as long as your players can get those bouncy wickets where there is uneven bounce, one ball is absolutely traveling over the keeper's head, the other one is keeping so low that it hardly hits the bottom of the stump. So as long as the big powers get advantage, I don't think that they would raise a voice. However, a quality inspection check in terms of venue should have taken place from ICC's perspective, because it is not only about a tournament being a marketing gimmick, but it is also about a tournament bringing in the sport and spreading the sport in a positive way.
Let's come to another angle of it. Though this story came up, broke pretty recently, where Star, who are the broadcasting partners, claimed that because of the ICC's choice of the pitches in that area in the World Cup, plus the scheduling of the matches at an odd hour for the Indian subcontinent, which was one of the matches was at 6 o'clock. Although Indian matches were held at a particular time, which was also unfortunate because the India team had to play all the matches in the daytime, which is very unfortunate. The Indian spinners were never in use, but the fact that they displayed these kind of matches, which ensured that there was not enough fours and sixes, especially in the US leg, and also some of the West Indian legs. Some of the West Indian matches were also very, it was exciting, but it was like 130 plays, 130, 120 plays, 110 plays, 105, something like that also. For example, the match between Bangladesh and Afghanistan, if you remember, sorry, it was, yes, it was a very close fought match, but which ultimately Bangladesh lost. But it was something, even though Australia was an Afghanistan match, or the pitch that was there in the first semi-final between South Africa and Afghanistan, they were atrocious. And even though the quality of contest was probably there, but it was not good for the viewing public. And you always know that when a World Cup is being held in the Caribbean, you are creating that World Cup for the viewing public, because there's not at all enough ground coverage to support a World Cup in the Caribbean. Given that, Star then claimed that they need to renegotiate some of the deals that they have done with ICC. Now, Mr.
Yeah.
Bhatt Clay, who was the ICC president, is the outgoing ICC president. It's entirely his brainchild of how it happened. How do you see this?
I don't know what Star is claiming to ICC. I don't know if their business got profit or loss, but as a cricket viewer, I have thoroughly enjoyed this tournament. We sometimes call things like low scoring thrillers, right? Cricket is not about batsman game. Like, I mean, I'm repeating it again. I don't mind if there is a tournament where you see a scores like, 110 is defended, 120 is, crossed at the last ball. I don't mind. As long as it's a game that constitute like good fight, like good competition, I'm okay.
But the point here, Aniruddha, you have to think not from your perspective. So I myself am, I feel that Test cricket is the best cricket. Okay, give me a full day of Test cricket and I'll watch it in a great pitch. But a T20.
No, but this is how you.
The thing is that you are not the majority portion of Star's viewers. So you have to think not from how you see it, but you have to see it from the way that the broadcaster sees this and the importance of that broadcaster's money for the organizers who are organizing it in US and West.
This is game. This is sports. This is not this cannot be curated the way audience want it to be. They could go and see some movies. This is not movie. This is real time sports. How you can just demand that okay, the game should be played in this manner. And audience also needs to get trained like okay, this is also cricket. This is how we can this is what we can expect from a good cricket match as well.
I see a definite point in what you are saying, but I feel that what the broadcaster is saying that they actually lost out money. How they lost out money? Because obviously they get their money from advertisements, right? When your advertisers are not keen to advertise on a match which starts at 6 a.m. in India time, then you lose money. And you cannot ignore the economics of it. We all have a vision that we want a good match, a competitive match. But if the match is not giving you the necessary economic, balance to host it, you're losing it.
Then don't sponsor those tournaments which are held in Australia and in US and West Indies if that is not giving you the revenue back.
This is exactly what Star is saying. Star is saying that now that we have lost this much because of these reasons which they highlighted, you need to give us some amount back because remember they have a 10-year window for which they will be hosting. They will be showing all the ICC tournaments, which means that they now are legitimately claiming that ICC needs to pay something back for the future, or they need to renegotiate the broadcasting deal for the future because they have lost out money due to ICC scheduling and ICC pitch preparation, which the broadcasters had no say about.
So it's a thing between ICC and Star. I mean, they will definitely resolve the issue. But as a viewer, if I am a portion of the global viewer, if I represent the global viewership, I'm in support of this kind of tournament, which is actually you are staging a tournament in throughout the world, like in every country, and this kind of matches. I don't find problem, but it's always the case of if it is economically viable or not. But
you are sitting in the US and you're talking about this. Let me bring in Omoto. Omoto, did you watch any of the 6 a.m. matches?
I have watched only one 6 a.m. match. It's worth it.
He's one of our fanatic young Indian cricket fans. Most matches. No, I'm nothing against those matches. The matches were competitive. But
no, let me add something. When there are test matches on Indian soil, they start generally around in the early morning. I mean, they ends up in the late night here in US time. I do watch those matches, staying awake. So
I think we have had such matches during the Border Gavaskar Trophy as well when India went to play against Australia. and we were starting off at 6 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
and there was a section of avid audience that would wake up in the morning and still watch it. I think like the perspective changes with the fact that more than money is about the range of audience that wants to watch these matches. Because when India are playing Australia, the magnitude is different. And for in that case, people will definitely wake up. But when a Papua New Guinea is playing a Bangladesh, the narrative changes. Yes, the level of cricket could be different on the day, definitely. But just on the paper, that fixture doesn't carry that weight. So if I'm sitting at 4 p.m. and I'm back home from my school, or I'm back home from my tuition classes and I'm watching it, that will be a much more casual watch than a serious watch, in my perspective, if I'm looking into this.
I will not put a Papua New Guinea versus Bangladesh. There was no such match. I will highlight a match that had actual importance on the tournament, which was Australia versus Afghanistan. That
Yes.
that match happened at 6 a.m. How many people in Afghanistan do you think were able to watch? Or Indian subcontinent were able to watch? Not many. Star lost money on a big match. Forget that match. The semi-final match, Afghanistan versus South Africa.
This is South Africa.
It was how Afghanistan was. It was at 6 a.m. Who would watch up to see a semi-final at that hour? Now, if there was a business justification that it would still make money, then I am sure it is okay. But if the money is being made from the broadcaster is showing primarily in the Indian subcontinent, then you have to think about those things. I'm sure that future tournaments in the Caribbean and the US will have to ensure these things are kept in mind while they are being held. For example, I'll just give one small example before I close this topic. CPL is being held at any random time. Nobody is bothered because the CPL is a local product. But if it is being held for a global audience, you have to ensure global audience here doesn't mean global audience. Global audience here means people in the Indian continent because your 80% viewers are coming from here. Forget World Cup. The England 100 is getting rescheduled from next year so that they could be held at more Indian TV viewer opinion. I think we have had enough about the World T20. Let's focus on the next big thing, which is now that the test season has started. Everybody is talking about the World Test Championship. First thing that I want to talk about is the scheduling and number of matches that are being played. How come England gets to play in the same summer two of the weakest touring teams, West Indies and Sri Lanka, for 3 matches, when these teams are not even playing 2-match series at home? West Indies played a 2-match series at home with India, played a 2-match series on tour with Australia, but when it goes to England, they play 3-match series. Sri Lanka has all the 2-match series lined up, but when they're touring England, they're playing 3-match series. Anything that you can shed light on, Aniruddha?
So the thing is, there is a thing called Big Three in world cricket, right? So these Big Three somehow negotiate, citing their own benefit according to the situation. So if we are allowing the existence of Big Three, then we have to admit all these things that you were you were saying. So it may happen sometimes. Let's say in the next cycle, probably India will be playing West Indies and Sri Lanka a 3-match series in the home.
Last time India played Sri Lanka, it was a 2-match series.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that maybe in future it may happen. So as long as this existence of Big Three, is dominating the world cricket, these are the things that
in this cycle, West Indies has played a 2-match series at home with India, a 2-match series on tour with Australia, and a 3-match series with India.
Yeah, I completely get what you were saying, but
let's come to the other part of it, which is basically the way that the teams are getting ranked or teams are getting, the point system. Earlier, when it started, World Test Championship started, there was a kitty of 120 points per series. And what happened was that in that 120 points, If it was a 5-match series, every test would give you 24. Every test win would give you 24 points. Draw will give you 12, half of it, and loss will give you nothing. I think a tie would give you around 16 or something. That is what they had told. I think that was a fair expectation. Only thing is, when it is a 2-match series, it becomes a 60-60 points. Because of COVID, they could not play some of those matches in the first cycle. And after that, what they did was they switched the model to make it a percentage basis thing. So a percentage basis thing is, if you play, let's say, 5 matches in the cycle, each match win will give you 12 points. Okay. If it gives you 12 points, then a 5-match total can be 60 points. Now, whether you win, draw, lose, depending on that, you probably get. So India won 4-1 against England in the home series. So India scored 48 points. So 48 by 60, that is the percentage that got added to it. Similarly, England won 1 match, so that was 12 by 60 is what got added to that. So now consider this: if it's a 2-match series, then it's 24 points. You win, you get 12 out of 24. That's 50%. By changing this to percentage, you are taking away any kind of a incentive of having a series based cycle. Instead of you're having this match based cycle, every team is playing 6 series. You have a point for the series rather than having a point for each match. If you have points for each match, that just justifies. I mean, in a way, it is trying to give impetus for dead rubbers. So some team which can which won a 2-0 and there's a third match running, another team can still win it and gain some points. So I can still understand that part of it. But there are not enough incentives on winning good, winning big, winning high, winning heavy. There are not enough incentives to win big. For example, I don't see any team winning by an innings getting an extra point. Any team, Bangladesh won a momentous series in Pakistan, first one by 10 wickets. Winning by an innings or 10 wickets should be legitimately placed higher than just winning. Secondly, second match Bangladesh won. It was actually a 4-day match because the first day was completely washed out. So Bangladesh won that match in 4 days. You should be incentivizing teams which are able to get results like that. You should be able to give more points in that or achieve more points. Of course, it cannot be, runtime, you can give more. It has to be in the tournament rules. Another huge issue that I see is that the cycle does not promote excellence, in the sense that some teams are so laid back about their test cricket. South Africa sending their B team to New Zealand, not bothering about sending their best players because they were playing in FTPE. West Indies has been a joke of a test team for the last 3 cycles. Until and unless you have a relegation possible, you will not ensure that all the teams are buckling up. What is the incentive for West Indies to go from 9 to 8? There is no incentive. What is the incentive for, let's say, a team like Pakistan to actually ensure that they finish in the top half? There's no incentive. So ensure that there are, proper prize money for finishing positions. Ensure that there is at least one team which is relegated. Where will Afghanistan, Ireland, and Zimbabwe get any chance of going into this top 9 league if they're not able to play at least one playoff match with the last number 9 team? And then West Indies will actually want to finish number 8. Let the number 9 team play a home and away one-off series with the best of this rest, and then let them decide, who will qualify for the next round.
I completely agree with what you have said, but I mean, see, Test cricket is a game of 8 to 10 teams. Like this game, I mean, the cohort is so small that you cannot do all these things. Or maybe if you do, then you are depriving some team not to compete to the top level anytime. So some few teams, for example, West Indies or Afghanistan, will never win or go into the final of World Test Championship, and on only 3 or 4 teams. This is what is happening. But you are actually ensuring that okay, this should happen by putting them in 2 different group or whatever. This is one thing that I want to say. And the second thing is regarding the point system. I mean, what do you think? Is there any other mathematical way to quantify and rank teams based on their performance? As long as not every series is played by the same number of matches, you cannot overcome this. So this is the best possible mathematical way to quantify teams. Yeah.
I think, I mean, if you ask me, I would ensure that I will ban a two-test series first of all.
Yeah.
First match in a two-test series spoils the entire series. It should a minimum series should be of 3 test matches. Okay?
That's right.
Take out the two-test series from everywhere. Okay? Fund so that teams can hold 3 test series. Ensure a fund. Right now, India, Pakistan, and India, England, and Australia are creating a fund which will be given from that fund, it will be given to other less wealthy nations like West Indies and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, so that their test players can get some more money. Ensure that fund so that there is only 3 match series. Second thing is that ensure that when a team does exceptionally well, for example, a team should be incentivized to win by an innings. A team should be incentivized to win by 10 runs, 10 wickets. That's what used to happen in our Ranji Trophy, if you remember. Okay, once upon a time. It should be an incentivized thing. Teams which are able to win a 5-day match within 4 days, not because it's like a substandard pitch. India versus South Africa finished in 1.5 days. Not because of that, but if you are.
But that will be difficult to quantify. In some venues, you have rain washed days, and you have like 20 overs.
I'm saying the match has to go to the 5th day. A match has to be finished on the 5th day, and if the match finishes on 5th day and 1 day or more has been wiped out due to rain, like it happened in the second test for Bangladesh versus Pakistan.
But one thing I agree, I mean, they should think about, giving more points if someone wins an away test and give less points if you win a home series. I mean, teams take advantage of, arranging a home series. They can, play with the pitches. You never know. So it's always needs to be credited if one team goes to, another country and win a test match or 2 test match. That should be credited high.
I agree. Completely agree. That should be credited. So right now, the system is 12 points for a win, 6 points for a tie, 4 points for a draw. That 12 points should be for a home win. You can give 6 points for an away win.
Yes.
That ways, teams which are even have started poorly can still make up.
That's great.
Right? Third thing that I wanted to talk about the point system is right now there is a huge point discrepancy because of for bowling less overs. England were out of this World Test Championship even before their home season started because they lost 9 or 10 points for bowling. Now I understand bowling slow needs to be punished, but you are deducting if you deduct 1 point where 12 is for win, that's your 8%. 2 points means 16%. So it should not be, so high a thing that, you are deducting, so much points. Even after winning so many test matches, England are out. I think they need to relook at the points that get deducted. And if you are deducting this rate, fine, then you should be able to give some points positively. If somebody is able to finish a test in less than, in lesser time, There should be, it should be a, stick and carrot. You are providing the stick. Okay, fine. So you have finished outside your quota. That's your, -1 point. If you have, let's say, finished 10 minutes or maybe, 20 minutes or half an hour before that, your bowled overs are between that, you should get some credit. There are a lot of teams which plays only with spinners. They should get credit because they are bowling faster.
It's not a foolproof, setup. The World Test Championship. I think people are still, thinking how to better the whole tournament.
Structurally, also, I think working out the blind spot that was there, especially the dead rubber games. I think in that case they have done pretty well because dead rubber games usually when I started watching Test cricket, there were usually days when the price of tickets for last Test matches, especially the ending Test matches, fifth Test matches or fourth Test matches, there would be a lot less because a lot of the star players would be rested because the series was wrapped up. But in this case, with the WTC cycle being introduced and each test match having a certain amount of owners, I think that has been one of the most advantageous part, especially with Test cricket reviving its audience as well. Because ultimately, there was this time where the gentleman who had this idealistic denomination made in the minds of the ECB or the big boards that are there. So that has now gone to the docs, and now everyone, the children also are taking up interest in watching Test cricket. I think as per viewership that goes into grounds is concerned, I think it has been a very successful, inclusive event in terms of rule meeting and getting rid of the blind spot in dead rubber matches.
I have a comment. So this dead rubber issue can be solved by just introducing, I mean, a different point system. For example, let's say if a home team loses any test match, they should be penalized by a certain number of points. And if an away team wins any test match, they should be awarded with a certain number of bonus points. If that happens, you can probably minimize this dead rubber games. Then there will be stake at every game.
No, but
Yes. So
cannot minus points for some team losing it. You are giving 0 points. That is fair enough. You can incentivize the win by saying away team wins. Okay, so you get 4 points. Like I said, 12 points for a home win, 16 points for a away win. But if the team wins, you are giving them 16 points, and you are negatively, taking away points. People will finish. Think about a team like Pakistan. They will finish it -100. They'll never win anything. Don't please don't be so anti-Pakistan. No, there are people in India who.
No, we are not. We are not.
So think about our brothers in Pakistan. They don't say that if you lose a home test, you should be negative minus point. Give us 0 point. That's okay.
It's not only about Pakistan. India may, Bangladesh may lose points. I mean, what I'm saying is a central point system for all the team. It doesn't
hypothetical
matter.
model.
Bangladesh
Yeah.
may not. Pakistan will. So
I mean, yeah, they might revive as a test team. I mean, they have the potential. I mean, we can do a separate episode on that. But
so the duration that Virat Kohli was without test century is now lesser than the duration that Pakistan has been without a home test.
yeah, I mean, they played badly. This is
putting that into context. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's leave that. I mean, we will talk about Pakistan later on. My another pet thing, and before that, okay, the pitches, the home pitches. I think Aniruddha, you brought out a very good point that the home team needs to be, the away teams win should be awarded. But even then, do you feel that we should actually go for a homogenization? Is that even possible, given the completely different weather that every team has, every country has? And B, some of the natural weather conditions that are there in some of the countries ensure that that kind of wicket is produced nowhere else. So, for example, the kind of bounce and the kind of dead wicket that Australia produces is never found anywhere else. So you can say South Africa provides that kind of a bounce, but South African wicket also produces seam and swing. So South African wickets are not akin to Australian wickets. Okay. The pitches that are there in Bangladesh are nowhere near anything you will find in either India or Sri Lanka. Somebody will have to manufacture a pitch in India or Sri Lanka to behave like how the Bangladesh pitches do. And finally, the pitches in Pakistan. I think you'll have to play in the moon to get the same situation that happens in Pakistan.
No, but we have seen road pitches in Pakistan as well. What I'm trying to say is they can lose a series against Bangladesh. Bangladesh played well, but Pakistan team has this potential. They are not a bad test side, honestly.
Final thing that I wanted to talk about the World Test Championship is about the final and this obsession to have a final on a particular month in a particular country. I understand the logic behind that is they want to finish off one cycle before they have the start of the new cycle. I do not think that is essential. I think it is more essential from all the viewing public, and this is irrespective of whether India qualifies for a final or not. I think it will be more essential if the final match happens as a one-off home and away series. It does not necessarily have to happen during June. You can start the next cycle, but then you have this one test match, maybe whenever, October, November, December, whenever the most of the world teams have it, and then actually play it. June is not the month when even England has its tests. They start their test the second half of June. Seldom do they have tests in May and June. They usually have it second half of June or July or even August. So it's almost paradoxical that ICC puts the most important test match of their 2-year cycle at a particular country at a particular time when that same country actually never plays a test match. It's a league phase, and the top two then come out and play a knockout. Okay, I understand that one. Ensure that there is a league winner. Ensure that there is a league champion. Number 2 and number 3 playoff, and then they get the winner of that, and then they play with the league winner at a mutually one-off home and away. Even more, you can do it like this. If the gap between the top one and two team is more than a specific or rather less than a specific points, only then you have that final knockout final. Otherwise, the league champion is as good as the winner. That's how league champions are crowned. You can actually do that, or if you're obsessed about having a marquee final match, then have it as a home and away in the proper window when it could be, it could be staged. Maybe both of them can be day-night matches. Ensure that they are both day-night matches.
It doesn't really make sense for me as well, because at a particular timeline where it is not really favorable to play test matches at all, you are having probably one of the biggest test matches, especially in a skewed format where a particular team belonging to a particular hemisphere has an added advantage. And that really doesn't really make sense. Like for any Asian team that has to play a World Test Championship finals, especially in England during that time, they will always be on the back starting. Like it is not only that I am advocating for India, but you put in any other Asian team, be it Pakistan, be it Sri Lanka, be it Bangladesh, or even Afghanistan. I think everyone will be on the back foot itself, knowing for the fact that yes, the conditions that in which they are playing are not really favorable, not only in their home timeline of Test cricket, but also not in the away timeline of Test cricket as well. So that is already extra adaptability that the away team has to do. And with the kind of wickets that are prepared, it is not really in anyone. It is always favoring an Australia or an England during that uh, session of play or in a particular session of play. So that is what I feel like. Again, more than a two-match format where you have, you know, uh, a format where you get to play home and away. I have another alternate where maybe a three-match series could be taking place. especially in a neutral venue, that the two teams that you choose, whatever the result is out of that three-match series, they win the final. Having a one-off match in something which is similar to a marathon is a very erratic end to a WTC cycle, which is so long.
The other point that I want to make is that imagine if that one-off test ends in a draw. What do you give? You give a
Exactly.
joint to the top two teams. Why should the second team, who might be 10 points behind the first team, become joint winners of a World Test Championship? We are lucky that we have had a result in those 5 days. Imagine the first draw that happens. Okay, maybe that first drop, maybe Australia will be so far ahead of the second place team at the first. If Australia is at top, and then for some reason it rains through the entire matches. Even there was a sixth day, if you remember, in the first ICO WTC final. Even if you are not able to get that, you are just making it a farce.
So I think ICC is still figuring out how to solve this issue, because we have seen the first three World Cup was in England from 75, 79, and 83, and then it moved back to the subcontinent. So I think in near future something like this will definitely happen. Otherwise, it is a genuine advantage to a certain kind of team who are known to be good in certain conditions. It's not about how subcontinent teams are performing in those conditions. If the tournament finals are distributed in different part of the world, then it's fine. Like then it's fair for everyone.
Let's make it a little lighter. Let's talk about talents which are still to come up in the international stage. This year, we have seen some of the greatest, not some of the greatest, but surely some of the brightest talents to take up. England has unearthed an off spinner in Shoaib Bashir. Now they have taken up another left-handed Bruce Reed-like player called Josh Hull out of nowhere. He has only played probably 6 or 7 matches. Bangladesh has unearthed its first 150 kilometers per hour pace bowler in Nahid Rana. These are definitely, India has given a debut to Abhishek Sharma. These are definitely some of the debutants who could, be the debutant of the entire year, given how they have done. Kevin Hodge from West Indies. So I'm asking you two gentlemen to name your roster of uncapped talent, people who have not played a single international match across any event, who we should be watching out for, or rather, who do you think is the best uncapped player now?
Considering our cohort, I think Mushir Khan has the potential because he has the number. To be successful in a bigger arena. And not only that, he bowls, he bats well, he bats in critical condition, he scores runs. Like I'm very hopeful with Mushir Khan.
I think Mayank Yadav, the LSG bowler that broke into the T20 setup and the T20 scene last year through the IPL.
I'm going to name, probably 10 players who I feel could any day, once they make their debut, could become some of the biggest players all around. First name in my list is English wicketkeeper batter James Rew. He was part of the England Lions team, which toured India back in summer. He's basically a wicketkeeper batter. He's just 20 years old. He's not even 21. He's played 37 first-class matches, already scored over 2,000 runs. That includes 8 centuries. Okay, 8 centuries, 7 50s. His average is 44. First-class average of 44.57. Second player, I think he was just in the news a few days back. That's 16-year-old brother of English spinner Rehan Ahmed. Rehan himself is 19-year-old. This guy Farhan Ahmed is a 16-year-old. He made his first-class debut. Okay, he made his first-class debut for Nottinghamshire versus Surrey on 29th of August. In his first match, he took in the first innings he took 7 for 140. In the second innings, he took 3 for 77. That 10-wicket haul puts him at the same level as one W.G. Grace. W.G. Grace, in his first class debut, had also taken a 10-wicket haul. First class debut as a bowler is much more difficult than first class debut as a batsman. Sachin Tendulkar, there are a lot of examples of Sachin Tendulkar who has a debut century in first class game. But 10 wickets on a debut, Farhan Ahmed is only the second. So Farhan Ahmed, 16-year-old right arm off break bowler. Keep an eye out for him. He has not even played under 19 yet. Third guy is also from England. It's Rob Yates. Rob Yates is a top order batter. He could open also. He is barely 24 years old. He's not yet 25. He has played 67 first class matches, 67 at that age, and over 3,000 runs with 10 centuries. So this guy could very definitely make his England debut very soon. Then I would go to one of the Australians. Australia usually, are not producing the right kind of youngsters nowadays. Fraser McGurk has not really lit up the scene in the first class cricket. I'm not talking about his T20 potential, but there's one Australia A captain, which is Nathan McSweeney. He had an outstanding Sheffield Shield last time. He's 25 years old. I think he's not so young anymore. He has played 30 first class matches. Compare the number of matches, first class matches that English players have played versus somebody like Nathan McSweeney, who is an Australian A captain. And in first class, after 30 matches, he has scored 1,700 runs and taken 15 wickets. There are a lot of Sri Lankan guys that could come in. I will talk about one name, which is Sonal Dinusha. He's a bowling all-rounder, 23 years old bowling all-rounder, left-hand bat and left-arm orthodox. He has played 37 first-class matches and taken 83 wickets. Also, in those 37 matches, he has also scored 1,600 runs, including 3 centuries. Somebody who has taken 3 centuries and 6 5-wicket hauls is for their country. Another Sri Lankan all-rounder that I'll talk about is 21-year-old Vanuja Shahan. He is also left-hand bat and left-arm orthodox. This guy, just 21-year-old, he has played 26 first-class matches and he has scored over 1,300 runs and taken 141 wickets. This guy is sure to play. Both these guys, all-rounders, are sure to play. I'm sure that you'll find that they are going to be stars of the future. Indian side, I think we must take Abhimanyu Ishwan's name. It's unfortunate that Ishwan has not yet made his debut for India, given the kind of batsman who has played as an opener for us. 94 first-class matches, over 7,000 runs. I think it is time that Abhimanyu Ishwan, makes his debut. If he was probably playing for Tamil Nadu instead of Bengal, I think he could have already made his debut. Mushir Khan, I think Aniruddha, you have already spoken about. I think my number one player who I think would make a huge splash once he comes in is Harshit Rana. Harshit Rana is 22-year-old. He's already an IPL winner. 8 first-class matches. He has already taken 1 5-wicket and 1 10-wicket haul, total of 32 wickets. He's also scored 1 century and 150 in those 8 first-class matches. So definitely a star for the future. Harshit Rana would probably make his debut sometime within this year, and watch out for this guy. My second pick would be Manav Sutar, who is a left-arm orthodox bowler. 22-year-old, he's already played 15 first-class matches, taken 4 5-wicket haul and 2 10-wicket haul, and has scored 500 runs in those 15 matches, including 350s. And I'll just put one more name here, just Abhishek Porel. I think Abhishek Porel will play for India. He's one of the best wicket keepers that we'll find currently. playing in the domestic circuit. Top picks, if you say, are James Ryu and Harshit Rana. And keep an eye out for those two Sri Lankan all-rounders. I think that's the first episode of from the pavilion end. I hope you liked some of the discussion, some of the points that we discussed. Please let us know how you like it. Share your comments, and we'll close for today. Thank you all.
It's been a pleasure bringing this episode to you. If you like this episode, please like and share it. Please also subscribe or follow our podcast.